we have 4 police officers graduating. She's attending the ceremonies. But we did meet with the town's government relations firm, Mirtha Kalina, specifically Michael Martone. And there are things out there, that the state does offer in terms of grants and programs, and you mentioned DEP and stuff. But you're right, you might have to partner with them and some of these other things. But we are looking at what our options are available in terms of programs and stuff like that. And Michael is going to do some more work on us, hopefully very quickly, to give us some ideas about that.
Just as a point of reference, when I was going to work yesterday, I saw a truck in front of the Candlelight.
Okay.
It looked like they were doing a boring. I know that the mayor had commented that her office was going to look at engaging in doing a study on the phase 1.
Yeah.
Was that part of that?
Yes. A couple things, just real quick. We contacted all the utility companies to begin shutting off everything so that we can do what we need to do. That should take within 30 days. We've contacted the environmental company. I apologize, I don't know which one it is, but Ralph Morrow was working on that to do tests for asbestos, lead, and also any underground pollutants. We should have the results by the end of January, maybe hopefully sooner. If everything goes great, then we can begin the demolition. We did meet earlier with Navis and Young because they had done some original plans in terms of what the site could offer. I think one direction was to make it some sort of park. So they showed us the actual prints of what the property would look like. If you had a pavilion, picnic area, splash pads, et cetera, et cetera. So those are some of the things that we've worked on this past week.
And was that part of the Navis plan that was done with this, you say the beach committee?
I believe it is, yes.
So you have this on file at...
We have a lot of things on file, and if we don't have it on file, what we're trying to do is contact everybody that has worked on it so we can see what they've done. And, they bring in prints, they bring in paperwork, whatever they have.
So is it fair to say that the administration is now moving forward to demolish the building?
Yes.
And so if we have the environmentals completed by the end of January, is there any approximate time frame that we could...
Like right after. I mean, we want to get that building down as quickly as possible, as long as everything comes back clean. That's the whole thing, and we're hoping with the weather and everything else by the end of January. Is
that just the building, or is that the building and the pad?
No, just the building. Just the building.
Doing test pits.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I recall hearing 2 figures on the cost of demolition. One was $300,000, and then there was a figure of $100,000 given by a local contractor in the room. I don't think he's here now. But, is the demolition going out to bid naturally? It's going to be a bid process? How is the town going to do it?
Yeah, there were some original bids, and there is conflict of information, and we're trying to figure out what's fact and what's fiction. What we do know is that we're pretty certain that with the insurance money, that would cover the cost of demolition. At some point, somebody said, you're better off if you're going to demolish the building, at the same time you should have a plan in place to construct something, if that's what you want to do. To us, that was putting the cart before the horse, because you didn't know what involved, in terms of abatement, what you had in terms of lead or asbestos or whatever. How do you know what you can or cannot do? But that's, like I said, way ahead. What we want to do is make certain that we can, take the building down, make sure there's, it's tested correctly, take it down, demolish it, and whatever figures we have, we're not satisfied with those because it didn't make sense what they were trying to say. It would cost more money to just simply demolish it versus demolish it and have a building put in place right away. It's not right. I'll tell you right now, it's not right. I'm not going to blame anybody, but I'm just going to tell you we're on a going forward basis, and what we found out is that we've got the money covered through the insurance policy to take that building down.
Are we putting it out to bid?
And then we put it out. Yeah, things are going out to bid. Everything is going out to bid because that's the way we have to do it. 3 bids.
I think what might have confused people, there was such a large disparity in terms of what it would cost to demolish. And here's a figure from Navis and Young, as a matter of fact, Navis and Young. Total for removing building and pavement and establishing grass was $351,750. And then there was a total for removing the building and paving the footprint, that was $398,600. And I believe there was yet another figure that it took into account demolishing the building and then rebuilding something. And that's where the disparity occurred. I think that's what really drew people's concern. You know, why such a disparity of a couple $100,000? But now, that's on the shelf. There's another approach. It's going forward. The funding is there to pay for it. It's going out to bid, and it'll be done.
Doug, I'd like to point, Paul made a point. One of the things is that the DEP has programs to help people. Greg mentioned about salvaging. This is a key thing. You can write it into the specifications that materials can be salvaged and reused, because an awful lot of, it's called a green method, that you want to reuse the materials instead of putting them in a landfill, reuse the materials completely. And you can grind up the cinder blocks for paving material. There's so many things, but you have to do that in your specs early on. And I think there's Manchester has a facility, but there are places available in the state that do this, and actually you end up with maybe a positive rather than negative, that you don't lose money, actually gain on it.
Yeah, that's exactly what Ralph Morrow was looking at.
Yeah.
Because if the stuff isn't contaminated, and we can, some of that stuff we can do locally, we can do ourselves, we can crush those cinder blocks and use them for paving and stuff like that. That would be great. But if it's contaminated, well, then we got problems.
Right. If you look at the Coliseum as an example, Stanford Wrecking went in there and they had a big mechanical jaw that just crushed the cement once they imploded, and then they shredded and pulverized the cement. And what you see that is asphalt now, the base underneath that is the Coliseum, a lot of it.
Well, you mentioned about insurance will cover it. I'm on the Board of Finance and we're self-insured. So I don't know where this insurance is coming from.
Or whatever came from the insurance company, some check that came back, whatever the claim was. I don't know, I'm just going by what I've heard from Ralph and
I was a little worried, I heard that,
Yeah.
because of being self-insured, it's all taxpayer money that we pay out. We have excess liability insurance,
That's right.
but for any damages the town
Yeah.
eats it, so to speak, we have to pay for it.
Right.
So that's,
But supposedly there's a check that came back.
hopefully
I
it's
understand.
deposited.
That's what I understand.
Okay, thank you.